Hey, everybody. Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to Invisible Condition. It's not all in your head. I'm your host, Jeff Pearson, and we want everybody with an invisible condition to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that you do have a voice, you have a community, and you are never, ever alone. And I am pretty excited about our guest today. It's going to be pretty cool. Oh, I just grabbed the wrong thing. welcome to live TV, everybody. I grabbed the wrong. I pulled up the wrong piece of paper. There it is. Okay, there we go. I just, I figure write it down, and then you don't have to remember as much. Memory is only the second thing to go, right? So at age 16, Trina Kennedy is who we're talking to today. I'm excited for you to meet her. At 16, Trina kind of describes going through a dark, difficult time, which, some of us, I mean, who hasn't done something like that, right? She said she was surrounded by the paralyzing emotions of hopelessness, helplessness, and despair. That's never good. Some of us have probably felt that from time to time, but this is different. And she was willing to do just about anything to make them stop. And so after meeting with an amazing therapist that finally made her feel seen, heard, understood, she knew she wanted to do for others what that therapist had done for her, which is really cool. I love that attitude, because we need more of that. So Trina has now been a human services advocate for over 30 years, which is awesome, and is dedicated to fostering emotional resilience and healing for her clients and audiences that she speaks to. So she has also completed Ironman competitions, which really makes me feel we're gonna have to talk about that, because that's just all right. Half marathons, Ironman competitions, and triathlons. Okay, if anybody feels like, okay, you're sitting on a couch now, you might want to get up, start jogging in place or something so you feel better. Trina has 2 grown children and lives in the central Alberta, Canada area with her husband of 28 years. That's awesome. I love hearing stuff like that. 28 years, man. That's like the new 50 now. Here, let's bring Trina on here and see what's going on. Trina, thank you so much for being here. Man, you know what? 28 years, seriously, it's like we've been married 25, my wife and I, and I feel like to that time frame, that's like the new 50 now. It's hard to find people that have been married close to 30 years. So well done. Well done.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah. Together 33 years. We were high school sweethearts.
Yeah, that's the best, man. I love that. My wife and I met when we were in 7th grade dance class, so I'm with you.
Awesome.
I get it. I get it. Those are the fun ones, though, right? Because then you've got you got to build the friendship first, and then you're like, oh, you get to deal with that weird high school stuff together, and
then navigate kind of growing together but not
right?
together, and healing. And hopefully you're both doing your healing at the same time, or that doesn't go well. Yeah.
Crazy.
It's been a journey, that's for sure.
Oh man, has it ever? Yeah, totally. Well, so let's talk about that. Share a little bit about that journey and what drew you into working in the field that you're in with the mental and emotional health and all that kind of stuff. Where'd that start?
Well, you touched on it in your introduction, Jeff. So I think most of us on some level have had a difficult childhood. I actually just wrote a book, From Trauma to Triumph and What Lies Between. So it's my story of relational trauma with my parents growing up, and how that impacted me, and the armor it created, the armor I needed to protect me as a child, but the armor I carried into my adult life that really didn't serve me any longer. But until we heal and identify, the armor and the maladaptive consequences that it creates in our relationships, and heal, I was able to kind of learn to lay that armor down, which actually saved my marriage. So we were talking about marriages off the top, and marriages aren't easy, relationships aren't easy. It took some work to get where we're at in our relationship now. But back when I was 16, I actually had quite a serious suicide attempt. I almost died. I was in the psychiatric ward for about 2 weeks. And, a lot of my relational trauma was, and I think many people, especially of our generation, can relate to this, is we did not do emotions in our family. We didn't talk about them. They were they were dismissed. If, and I was quite a sensitive child. So if I was crying, my dad would say, quit your crying, or give me something to cry about. And that actually
Right.
can create
Yeah.
trauma. And it certainly did for me. I felt invisible. I felt like my feelings didn't matter. And that created a lot of internal turmoil. I internalized a lot of that as not mattering, as not being important. There was also some other things that happened, which I talked about in my book, bullying and that sort of thing. So it compiled for sure till at the age of 16. I just didn't have the coping strategies, and I wasn't able to talk about how I was feeling. And in order for us to heal, we have to feel, which means acknowledging emotions. And emotions aren't good or bad. They're just part of our human experience. So anyways, after my suicide attempt, and this was in the 80s, so suicide was very stigmatized. I know it still is today, but people for the most part didn't know what to do, what to say, how to support someone. And I was more suicidal after my attempt than I was originally, because I already wanted to end the pain, and now the realization of the impact of that just amplified with no support, no way to talk about and process and work through what I was dealing with. So thankfully, my mom had enough, understanding to connect me with an incredible therapist. Her name's Joan Bailey. Tried to find her, but I'm not able to find her. She had incredible impact on my life. So she really, for the first time in my life, especially as an adult, she held a safe space for me to feel seen, heard, empowered, and understood. And it was from that place that I was really able to kind of unpack, process, become empowered to make some changes that I really felt powerless over. And it was really that experience. She turned my life around. It was because of her. I chose life over death, which that was my biggest triumph to this day. And I walked away going, I want to do that. I want to create that for people. That's missing, I think, in a lot of people's experiences. It was transformative for me in my own healing. And so I kind of ventured into post-secondary education. So at that time I thought, well, I want to work with youth, right? With youth that are struggling, just like Joan did. So I went and took my child and youth care diploma, and then started some of that work. And I ended up being a lifelong learner, went back and got my social work, went back after that and got my bachelor degree in human service administration. And because I love learning, and just over my career in the human services field, obviously, everybody's impacted by trauma. Mental health impacts us all. And so I just kind of started a journey of discovering and learning about mental health and trauma. Those really became my areas of focus and my areas of expertise. And, fast forward 32 years, here I am. With a book, and I'm a speaker, I'm a trainer, and I'm actually going to be certified here shortly as a woman-centered coach. So starting to coach as well. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Congratulations. That's fantastic. That's going to be a really cool little niche there. That's going to be awesome. Well, so just to throw this out there, after hearing, we got a lot of stuff to cover here today, but just from hearing just that, everybody out there watching, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, or E360, or wherever you're watching, if any of Trina's story is like, oh my gosh, yes, we gotta talk, or I want to ask her a question, or I need some help, or whatever, scan the QR code. That'll take you to her page, her landing page, her website, and then you can reach out from there. Or if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, it's super easy to just comment. Just put. You don't have to tell your story. You don't even have to get personal or anything. Like, just put yes or something. Put something in there, and then when this show airs, we'll know to reach out. And she can reach out to you, and you can have a conversation. So what will people find on that page that QR code goes to? By the way, there's an easy spot for people to contact you.
Yeah, they can, my email's there, so they can reach out through that. There's links to workshops, coaching. If someone's interested in my book, they can find it on Amazon, or they can comment, and I can, actually there's a QR code on my website as well that will take them right to, although I think that's amazon.ca. So if someone's out of Canada, they'll just have to go into their Amazon search engine and put in the title, and it'll come up for UK, American, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, it's easy enough, right? Everybody knows how to use Amazon. They'll find it. It's everywhere. And so, I mean, you talk a lot about, so the one thing that I've heard in that intro and in your bio that you sent and what you've been saying so far on the show, I mean, relational trauma is the big thing. It's the and I mean, everybody's in a relationship with somebody, whether it's a spouse or a sibling or a parent or a child, or so, like, there's always relationships going on, and so there's always trauma. It's just a thing.
Well,
How do
there can
you?
be. Yeah,
Yeah,
there can be for sure. So I think it tends to happen, and not to say it can't happen as adults, but I think we have a lot more understanding and awareness and support systems and coping strategies and that sort of thing to be able. It doesn't mean relationships aren't stressful or distressing. And things that happen to children don't have to be traumatic either. So here's
right,
the thing with trauma. It's an event that creates a deeply distressing or disturbing experience. So what happens is our distress cycle is activated when we're exposed to an event or a situation that creates, distress. And so we're in a distress cycle where our brain's going danger, 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 right? Like you're not safe physically,
right.
emotionally, or psychologically. And so what happens is if we have someone in our life who, guess what, makes us feel seen, heard, and understood, once that distress cycle is activated, and they hold a safe space for us and they validate our feelings as real for us without judgment, right? And they, what they can do then is they complete that distress cycle. So it no longer it's not trauma. It becomes trauma when that distress cycle is activated, but it's
Mm,
the cycle's not completed. So I'll just give an example. So again, when I would be upset, I would get, quit your crying, or I'll give you something to cry about, or go to
mm,
your room. So the message then became, it's not okay to feel those things. There's something wrong with me by experiencing those things. That's how I internalized those events. As opposed to, for example, in my book, I talk about, I went next door to my friends. I was probably grade 4 or 5. She was upset crying because she just found out her parents were getting divorced.
mm.
So again, this was late 70s, early 80s. So that was very unheard of back then.
Yeah.
I didn't know anybody whose parents were divorced.
Mm,
And she
mhm.
was incredibly, incredibly upset, understandably. And I
Yeah.
remember just, hugging her and crying with her and not knowing how to help her, but hurting for her. And so I went home and I was still upset and, crying in my room as I was thinking and processing what Carrie was going through. And my dad came by and he's like, "What's your problem?" And so I said, "Well, Carrie's parents are getting divorced and she's really upset." And he's just like, "Oh, quit your crying and don't be so dramatic." So
Mm,
my distress cycle had been activated because I was distressed because of Carrie's distress. Now, had my dad come in and sat with me and maybe hugged me and said, "You know what? It's really understandable that you're upset for Carrie. That's what good friends
yeah.
do. It's okay to be sad for her. What are some things you think might help her feel better? What are some things that might make you feel better?" My distress loop would have been completed, and that wouldn't have ended up being traumatic.
Right.
So it really is
Yeah.
about recognizing trauma is not what happens to us. Trauma is what happens inside of us because of what happens to us. It's incredibly subjective and personal. So somebody else may have grown up in a family with similar parenting style that didn't find that distressing or traumatic. That doesn't mean it wasn't for me. And so it's
Right.
important not to just look at an event and go, "Oh, that's trauma." It's very personal to the person, and we don't get to decide what's traumatic for somebody else. That
Yeah.
only they know that. And
Right.
if that was a distressing experience, then that's to be validated. Whether we understand it or whether we agree with it, it's not about us. It's about that person. And we do not do emotions well in our society, right? For various social conditioning, right? It's weakness,
Yeah.
it's vulnerable. You can't do that. All of those, incorrect narratives that we're taught as children growing up. We really need to switch that, because if we just did a better job as communities, as families, as neighbors, as coworkers, holding space for people to feel. As soon as we feel, we heal. As soon as we can start to process those emotions, that loop gets completed. It's
Yes.
distressing, it was stressful, but we've processed it, we've moved on, and we can, safely kind of leave that experience. And in fact, those things, when our distress cycle gets completed, we start to build what's called a window of tolerance. We start to be able to tolerate and manage more distressing situations easier because our brain goes, oh yeah, we got this. We've been through difficult things before. We can manage this, right? So it's really not that difficult. Of course, there's some more catastrophic types of trauma that will need more than just somebody holding a safe space, or if it's long-term trauma that's gone unhealed for a long time, that's where we might need that professional help, just as Joan did for me, right? That as acting as a therapist, to be able to kind of hold that space and help me kind of unpack that. But as communities, as families, as friends, as coworkers, we could still do what's called trauma-informed care, where we're understanding how trauma works. We understand that it's about just creating safe spaces for people where they're not being judged.
Totally. No, I love that. And it could come in any, like you said, everybody's different, right? So somebody, it might be that, don't cry or I'll give you something to cry about. Somebody else might say, well, passive aggressive stuff really bugs me. That really sends me down that, or some people unfortunately have narcissistic relationships going on, or, so it's different for everybody, but it's still, everything can have an effect. So
absolutely,
you got to watch out for that and keep an eye out. And
and so when we're triggered, that is that's often, triggers are our best teachers, because what they show us is that there's wounds there that still need to be tending to, that it's like a raw sore that hasn't healed. And so instead of fearing it or avoiding them, being self-reflective and going, okay, wow, I was triggered there. What was going on? And so really good narrative starts to be, what was the story I just told myself about that interaction? Because it often comes back to our limiting beliefs that are created from our traumas.
Right. Well, it's kind of, well, isn't it? Oh, it totally is. And it reminds me of like when your kid gets a fever, right? And it's like, some parents are like, oh, get the Tylenol, suppress the fever, get that temperature down. No. We let it ride it out, man. Sweat it out. You have a fever because your body's telling you something that it's trying to get rid of. If you suppress that and stuff it, it's just like stuffing your emotions. It's just going to come back later with a vengeance, and it's going to make it worse. And so, emotionally, physically, it's like you said, it's all connected. It's the same methods are very, very effective, whether it's an emotional trauma or a physical thing. You just got to ride it out and complete the
distress loop. And feel the emotions. Emotions are just energy, and they have to move through us. And if they don't move through us, they get stored in our bodies. Our bodies will keep the score if we're not processing emotion. And I know that's uncomfortable for a lot of people, because we've avoided it for so long, for so many of the reasons we've already talked about. Right. But it really is just, okay, I'm feeling a funny feeling in my stomach. What emotion do I think that is? And I'm not judging it. I'm just saying, okay, it's there. I'm making space for it. I'm kind of saying you're welcome here. And I'm just processing it. And research is showing that emotions, when we allow space, are pretty much moved through within 90 seconds to 2 minutes.
Yeah. If you let it, if you don't suppress it, if you let it go and you let it go. Yeah. I mean, I can't tell you how many times you go through and it's like, you just got to talk through it and feel it and get through it. And then it's like, I can't remember. I can't tell you how many times I've told my wife, God, thanks for letting me just talk through that, just kind of get through it. And even if it didn't make any sense, you don't even have to say anything to the person. You could just listen, just chill and listen and be there. And that's because most of the time, those triggers don't need feedback from somebody else. Most of the time, sometimes they do, but in my life anyway, it's been like, just let me get through it. Just let me talk through it, and it'll help.
Processing it, for sure.
Processing it. Yeah, exactly. Totally, man. Okay, everybody, hope you were taking notes. I took down the QR code, but it'll be back in the second segment. We're going to go to a commercial break real quick.
Okay.
And then make the sponsors happy. And then we'll be back. And so stick around, because we got more to the story and we've got more to talk about. So everybody stick around, and we'll see you in just a couple of minutes.
Hey there. You know, every time someone comes into your business or website and uses their card to pay, a percentage of that gets folded back into the system. But it can go to Hydro with Hope instead. If you'd like your business to support us rather than feed back into the system, scan the QR code and we'll show you how to do that while saving your business money.
Hi, I'm Sarah Stockham, and I'm host of Simply Sarah. Join me Thursdays at 3 p.m. Pacific on the Achieve TV network for the best energetic tools to elevate your amazing life right here on E360 TV.
Hey everybody, just wanted to touch on something before we bring Trina back. I wanted to talk to you guys about Invisible Condition University, or ICU. See a QR code there. Feel free to scan it anytime here that I'm talking to you about this. Invisible Condition University is something, honestly, that I wish my wife and I had about 10 years ago. So I have had 4 brain surgeries and 2 other surgeries related to those in the last 11 years. And it's rough. Surgery's rough. Okay. I'm just going to say it. And every time we had surgery, once you get out of the hospital, when you're in the hospital, they're fantastic. I had an army of amazing medical professionals that were great. Once you leave, they kind of forget your name. And so if you have questions or you don't know what to do about something, it's really hard to get answers out of them once you've left that hospital. That's why my wife Catherine and I created ICU. We wanted to provide a place where people like us, like me, like you maybe, could come and find community that listens, that cares, that walks with you during these times that you're in the hospital, that you're recovering, that you're at home, that you don't understand what's going on. We meet on Zoom a couple times a month for about an hour. We start for an hour. If it goes longer, we go longer. It's all good. We want to provide a safe space for patients and their caregivers to talk, ask questions, vent frustrations, find information that maybe they didn't find it from the medical community when they're in the hospital. If you would like to learn more or would like to receive a free month of membership, I'd love to have you. Just scan that QR code or go to myfreegiftfromjeff.com. And I'd love to see you there. Our next one is, I have to look behind me. I have to do that. December 3rd. It's right there. December 3rd is our next one. So join us on December 3rd. I'd love to see you there. myfreegiftfromjeff.com. All right. Let's take that down. Okay. There we go. Now let's bring Trina back and let's continue with the rest of the story, because it's a good story. This is a great story. Because what I love about it is everybody goes through trauma. It affects everybody different, but the important thing is what you do with it. And this is what you're doing with it. And I love it. And so what are you doing now? What are you doing now? Like, you went through all that. You got to, God bless you for going to that much school. I got to throw this out there. I went to 2 years I went to a semester of community college, went traveling for about a year, came back from the traveling, went to 2 years of college, couldn't stand it, had to get out of there. So I don't have a degree, never finished anything. So you balance me out just great. That's, people that go to school for that long, I commend you. But what are you doing now to help people with this, besides your book that I'm going to put up there again?
Well, I do lots of things. I'm busy. I actually have a full-time job right now while I kind of build up my business. So I work for an agency that supports adults, children, and youth with intellectual disabilities. I'm the in-house trainer. So we have about 600 employees. And so there's about 15 different areas of training that I do with the different staff. So like trauma-informed care, mental health first aid, nonviolent crisis intervention. So there's about 12 to 15. So I teach. Wow. And teaching really is my passion. I love to learn, but I also think that, knowledge is nothing if we keep it to ourselves, and knowledge really is power. So I love sharing information to people who it helps to better their life or gives them skills to be the best employee they can be, or whatever that looks like. So I get to do that full time. And then on the side, I have a speaking, coaching, and training kind of career company as well. So my book just launched a couple weeks ago. I've also launched into the world of professional speaking. I'm actually an award-winning speaker. My very first signature talk, I won an award. So that was terrifying and exciting all at the same time.
Nice.
Doing a signature talk is very different than training, right? As you're training, it's to share information. When you're speaking, it's to evoke emotion. So it is quite different. And standing on the stage talking about yourself for 20 minutes and about some pretty vulnerable things just it's just growth and learning. You know, I'm brilliant and imperfect all at the same time. And it's taken me a long time, especially as a woman, to know those two things can exist in the same space. Women are socialized to believe we have to be perfect. We're socialized that if we're not, there's something wrong with us, that it's our job is to meet other people's needs. And that's why I'm also moving into women-centered coaching, because that is very much a model developed by Dr. Claire Zammit around breaking through the limiting beliefs that we're socially conditioned, particularly as women, to believe. And if you've ever seen a woman who stands in the greatness of her power, she is a force to be reckoned with. And the world needs our greatness, and it is our greatness collectively as women that will change this world.
Man, there was a lot there, but that's awesome. I totally 100% agree, by the way. Yes, for the most part, you have got the world. I mean, women, especially moms, you throw the kids in there, and you throw the husband in there, and you throw the family in there, and it just adds to it, man. It's like you guys have you've got the world on your shoulders, and and it is not a job to be taken lightly. But yeah, you are rocking it. I'm so happy that you're getting out there and doing this, because there's so many people that need that, because even if they don't want to admit it, they're feeling it. Come on. I mean, nobody wants to say it out loud, but it's the thing that everybody needs to own up to, right? Like, it's okay to be feeling that way and know that you need help.
Yeah, and so many of us, I think, are just surviving. And so it really is about learning to thrive by identifying our purpose and living our most meaningful life as women. And I know I used to believe those things, that I had to meet my kids' needs and my husband's needs, and, you know, that my clients' needs, and that my needs didn't really matter, and that taking care of myself was somehow selfish. But I now know that when I'm full of myself, meaning self-care and standing in my greatness, I am a better wife. I am a better mom. I'm better at my job. I have more to give without it compromising my own well-being. So it's really that shift in those limiting beliefs that we carry as women. And really, as women, we're damned if we do and we're damned if we don't. No matter what we do, society is judging us. So it's getting to the point to say, you know what, I am who I am, and this is me authentically, and I am great, and I am brilliant, and I am imperfect, and I have incredible gifts and talents to share with this world. And when we can get to that place, it's so empowering.
Right? Yeah. Totally. And I just want to throw this out there. I don't know why it just popped into my head, and I want to throw it out there just to see what your opinion is on this, because, why not? So we've been working with, my wife and I are in business together, doing the TV show and our community and our nonprofit and stuff. And one of our coaches that we've worked with for about a year now, he's like, it's one life. The idea is to have one life. It's like it's not, here's your family life. Here's your life with your significant other. Here's your wife, your life with work. Here's your life with coworkers. Here's your life with social. It's all one. You just fit it in, especially as an entrepreneur. It's just all one life, and you craft it the way you want. And yes, you've got a job crammed in there too, which I'm sure adds a whole nother dynamic. But I don't know. Is that something that you think is
100%
possible? I mean,
absolutely. And so I think there's a fallacy of living a balanced life. And I've kind of thrown that out the window too. And I don't choose to live a balanced life anymore. I choose to live a life in alignment. And so what that means is I live a life guided by my guiding my guiding values. So values are our principles and standards that are important for us, and they determine our behavior, our priorities, and our decisions. So my 5 priorities are family, my health, authenticity, and integrity. And so those really guide everything I do. And it's like our internal compass. And when I'm strong in my values and I know it's important, as things kind of come at me like they will in life, I kind of use it to go, okay, if I do that job, is it in alignment with what's important to me? Or isn't it? And then it allows me to better choose. Or, my health is a priority. So I never was a big drinker, but the more I'm learning about alcohol and the neurotoxicity and the inflammation it creates in my body, I'm now choosing to not drink, because it doesn't align with my value of health. I'm not judging anybody else for the choices they make. You do you, I'll do me. But it's just, what do I stand for? What's important to me? And then I choose my behaviors and my decisions and my priorities. And so to not be guided by our values, it's like being a ship in the middle of the ocean in a storm with no navigational system. Where are we going? How are we going to get there? And so you're just reacting to the wind and the waves and the rain, and that's exhausting. So making shifts in my life, like, middle age has been an incredible gift to me, because it's just like somebody's pulled the veil back, and just things are so much clearer to me, and I'm so much more directed in my life and true about my purpose and how I can help other people hopefully get to the same place in their life.
Well, and to give yourself permission to do that one life thing, like it's just you're not so. We in my former life with what I used to do, it was very fragmented. It was very segmented. It was very, I come home and I'm like, leave that at the freaking door. I don't want, and this is so much less stressful. It's just, I might be up at 2 a.m. working on something for the show while we're on vacation somewhere. But then also when we're home, I get to determine my schedule and spend time with our kids when we want to, and not be, and so it's when you look at it a little, all it takes is that little bit different perspective, right? Just looking at it a little different, and it can add so much.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Yeah. And when you are living your purpose and doing what you love, it really doesn't feel like work. I know I work a lot because I've got lots going on, but it energizes me, right? It's not like I'm going to a 9-to-5 job that I absolutely hate. I'm very, very fortunate, right? And grateful for that. So it does kind of shift things as well to.
Yeah. Nobody should be doing something they hate. Honestly.
Life is too short for that.
Oh my God, seriously. Yeah. It's sometimes you have to, I'll acknowledge that you have to for a little, sometimes you have to do what you have to do to get the result that you want. But ultimately, especially when you're, like you say, midlife, right? Life's too short.
I agree.
So yeah. Oh man. So as a professional, you've got the professional life, but the healing part is obviously part. I mean, it's all together, right? So how has your personal experiences shaped? I mean, even with your job, I mean, it's, all that personal experience just kind of informs everything going forward, right? So how would that be? I mean, I can't really ask how would it be different if you hadn't had that experience, but because you'd never know. But how does that help with you dealing with people that you're talking to? I mean, that's got to be a gift almost, to be able to with your past experience and what you've learned and everything. Like, how does that help you?
Well, I think like anything, when we can relate to people in terms of what, maybe not the context of what they're experiencing, because we never truly know what anyone else is going through, because we can't walk in their shoes. That's impossible. Sure. But empathy is about connecting with that deep emotion that they might be feeling, right? So when, they're really telling me they're feeling hopeless and helpless, I connect with that place that knows those feelings. And that was when I was 16. And that's why empathy is so hard, right? Is because we really should be connecting with an emotion that we think is what the person we're trying to support, because then it takes us to that place with them. And so I think I have an incredible capacity to empathize and be compassionate without crossing boundaries. And that's really important because I think a lot of people go into the human services field as a way to fix and save other people. And that's actually a trauma response. And that can be dangerous. It can be dangerous for burnout for the person in a helping role. It can also cross a lot of boundaries. So it can become quite problematic. So it really going into the field of human services also kind of, I don't want to say forced, supported my healing. And I mean, I started to heal at 16, but I'm still healing. It's not linear. It takes a lot of detours and unexpected, vistas around the corner and lots of, crappy roads and just like life. So I'm certainly not there. There's still lots of things I'm working on in terms of myself. But that's what it's about. It's just growing and evolving. And so I just think as I'm on my healing journey, it allows me to better support people and understand where they might be in their healing journey, but also recognizing where I'm at isn't going to be where someone else is at. And that's okay, right? We all have different paths and different experiences. And so I think just giving me that understanding to be able to be as empathetic and compassionate as I can be, while still challenging people in a respectful way. I think I'm able to create a safe space for people that feel seen, heard, and understood. I've worked really hard to learn how to be able to do that. And when we can create that, amazing things can start to happen in the dynamic of that relationship, because people will then feel safe to start to explore and open up, and all of the kind of magic can start to happen from that place.
Right. That's where it all starts. Yeah, exactly. That's amazing. Totally. I don't know what to say. It's good. You got some good stuff, man. I hope people are learning stuff because this is great. This is so good. Okay, I'm going to pop that book back up there one more time because people got to order that, man. If you don't have that yet, you should order it because it's got to be, I mean, what a great cover too, by the way. Who's your publisher on that? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I self-published, but I worked with a publishing coach, and she had an incredible graphic designer. And so I had the title and pretty much the book cover before I even knew what the content was going to be. And so hiking, physical activity, pushing myself physically was a really big part of my healing journey. And my husband and I are avid hikers.
Nice.
And so when I came up with the title, From Trauma to Triumph and What Lies Between, I just had this instant vision of a woman, the back of her standing on the top of a mountain peak with her arms stretched out in triumph. And if you read my book, the last few paragraphs kind of tie back to this so it kind of makes a full circle. And so it was very symbolic for me, but also just strength and resilience and, reaching that summit, whatever that looks like for whoever, it's going to be different. The graphic designer absolutely captured what I was hoping for brilliantly. So
that is really cool. I might have to talk to you about that because we self-published our first book too, but we didn't really have that help. So we kind of did it on our own. We had a little bit, we had some help, but not that's not like what you got. So I'm excited to talk to you about that more later. Maybe after the show, we'll have to talk about that because that sounds cool. Because I would love to write another book and have the process go really, really well. Yeah. So, so that'd be great. Yeah, we can talk about that later. So, well, cool. Hey, let's go to one more. We're going to go to one more break. And then on the other side of that break, we're going to kind of finish up the show in the last 10, 15 minutes. But I want to talk about something that we talk about a lot around here, especially later in the show. And that's hope. If you don't have hope, basically you're dead in the water already. I mean, seriously, especially in a situation like what you've gone through and what so many other people are going through. So we're going to talk about that on the other side of the break. And see if we can get some stories, man, because there's always good stories.
Awesome.
So, all right. Everybody stick around. We'll see you in just a couple minutes.
Hi, I'm Jake, co-founder and CEO of One Hope. My friends and I started this company in 2007 out of the back of this truck, on a mission to enrich people's lives through wine. Today, we've grown into a state-of-the-art Napa Valley winery that proudly houses a portfolio of award-winning wines which have touched lives through over 40,000 nonprofits at home and around the globe. And it's happening every day. Being rooted in local communities and contributing to initiatives that uplift neighborhoods, celebrate cultures, and promote community. It's what got us here. You see, through every bottle sold, your purchase can make a direct impact on the causes you care about. One Hope's Cause of Choice has given back over $10 million and counting.
In a world where office workers typically receive 130 daily emails and have an 8-second attention span, CoreCentrica, with her 4 decades of international marketing experience, has partnered with the Learning Code Institute and their 30 years of neuroscientific research. Together, we are crafting unique messaging strategies that resonate, connect, and ultimately convert our target audiences. CoreCentrica, where award-winning creativity and disruptive neuroscience come together. Scan this code now, or call and click, and let us show you how CoreCentrica's partnership with the Learning Code Institute is influencing how businesses connect with their audience, foster engagement, and achieve conversions.
Tired of losing cell service in dead zones? Concerned about connectivity in emergencies? There is now an answer. Introducing the Love Pod. The world's first affordable encrypted global internet Wi-Fi hotspot connects with multiple service carrier networks and is satellite assisted when no service carrier networks are available. So it works virtually anytime, anywhere. Connect up to 9 devices, like our cell phone, laptop, desktop, TV, security cam, and more. Stream, chat, text, download, and make phone calls, all with no roaming fees. With mesh capability, the Love Pods will grow in strength and speed with each new pod activated to create a private terrestrial-based intranet called Love Global Network. The Love Pods are dual blockchain encrypted with Love's proprietary 2048-bit cube chain encryption, giving you the ultimate protection in data privacy and security against digital attacks and hacks to your devices. You are no longer tracked, and your data is never sold. Get the Love Pod, your private, encrypted, portable global internet Wi-Fi hotspot, and stay safe and stay connected.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Greg Russell. I'm the host of TechnologyTuesday.com. You can find us on the Conscious Business TV network every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the latest resources to help you make more money in your business. Join us on E360 TV. Come on.
All right, here we go. We are back, and I'm going to put that QR code back up there so everybody can reach out and talk to Trina, because this is good stuff. This is good stuff. All right, so I like to ask a question of anybody that's on the show, because I always love the answers. There's no wrong answer. It's always awesome. With everything that's been going on with the upbringing and all the, like, when there's always rough days, right? Everybody has rough days, especially when there's trauma involved and all that kind of stuff. On the hard days, you still have hard days, right? On those hard days, how do you still find and maintain hope?
Well, for me, it's gratitude practice. There's always something to be grateful for. And I think when we are grateful for the things we have in our life, it reframes everything that's happening to be enough, right? And that we're where we're supposed to be, and that we're being taken care of, and that there's a higher purpose and a higher plan. And so surrendering to that too, I think allows me to kind of just be in the moment and know that we're going to come out the other side, right? That's the hope for me. And so when things are going really difficult, we tend to be anxiety driven. And when we're hyper aroused or stressed, we're in the fight, flight, freeze part of our brain. And so that part of the brain is trying to catastrophize and amplify risk and danger. And it dysregulates our nervous system and all of those things that aren't really helpful. So being present, like pulling back into my body, being grateful releases dopamine and serotonin, which are hormones that help us feel better and regulate mood. And so it's almost kind of like biohacking our physiology when we can kind of understand what's happening when we're stressed versus when we experience gratitude. And so regardless of what's going on for me, when I reflect in gratitude, it just creates such a sense of calm and peace. And it's from that place that I know, okay, it's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. This too shall pass.
Nice. Yeah, you can't be feeling gratitude and stress at the same time. It's
It's
just not
impossible.
possible. So, yeah, I love it. Well, let's just recap real quick how people can reach you. When they scan that QR code, what are they going to find and where do they need to go if they want to meet you?
Sure. So they're going to go right to my website, and there's different tabs they can click on: training, workshops, coaching. There's also a tab that says connect, so that'll get you to connect through email. If you're interested in booking just a free 30 minutes conversation about potentially exploring coaching, there's you can book a time through the link as well, just to kind of set up a date and time, and we can chat, no obligation. We can just explore if maybe coaching is something you'd be interested in and what that would look like.
Love it. And if anybody, seriously, I said this at the beginning of the show, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, just put yes in the comments or something simple, and she can reach out to you that way as well. Because in this day and age of social media and all this it's so easy to reach out, but it can be overwhelming too. So just put something simple in there, and she can reach out to you. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So man, I know I read this in the intro and I completely forgot about it till just now, but let's talk about that Iron Man thing. Like that's no joke. That's very intimidating. Like, come on, that's Iron Man. Let's see, you said Iron Man triathlons. What's your favorite?
An Ironman is a triathlon. So I did an Ironman 70.3, which is what is it? It's a 2-kilometer swim, a 90-kilometer bike, and a 21-kilometer run.
See, I thought Ironman was a different kind of that there was like triathlons, and then Ironman added an extra little
So
thing.
Ironman is just more farther distances in the three different sports. So there's like sprints, which are smaller, and then there's standard, and then there's half Ironmans, and then there's a full Ironman, which so
all right.
And you know what? I wasn't a runner. In fact, the monster, what I call in my book, the monster in my head. So there was a point as a child that the monster under my bed became the monster in my head. And, anytime I thought about doing something scary or unfamiliar, the monster would get really loud. So it was my husband who did a triathlon first, a sprint triathlon, so small distance. And I remember standing, at the finish line thinking, could I do that, when my monster got really loud and laughed and said, you can't do triathlon. You can't even run. You're certainly no athlete, and you're fat. So that's what, and that's what a lot of women hear, that monster constantly. And so the monster drives the car. And there was a point driving home, I'm like, I'm signing up and I'm doing a triathlon. And I was tired of my monster driving my car, and my monster's still there. It still kind of talks a little bit, but he's in the driver's seat, or not the driver's seat, pardon me, the passenger seat. I drive my car. And what I think about my monster all these years was, it just needs to be validated too. So when it gets loud, I just say, hey, I know you're scared. It's okay to be scared. This is new. It's unfamiliar, but I got this. We're going to be okay. And so being empowered to kind of take that narrative over. And that was the start 9 years later. So I went from a sprint triathlon, which was, it's like a 750 meter swim in the pool. It's a 20K bike and a 5K run. So a much smaller distance. And I was almost dead last to finish, but I finished. And it was a really transformative moment to know that the limits I was setting were set by my monster, not actually set by my capabilities. And so it just kind of started me on this journey, running after my husband, because he was, he kind of led the way and he was my inspiration. But all of a sudden I'm doing more triathlons and farther distances and half marathons, and up until 2019 when I did an Ironman. And it was the hardest physical thing I ever did, but it then also prepared me to sit down and do the most emotional, difficult thing I ever did, which was write my book. So again, those things build confidence, they build belief in ourselves, they build resilience, and once you cross that threshold, it's like, what can I do next? You want to push yourself, but it starts by stepping out of our comfort zone. And it's scary and it's unfamiliar. And, our monster's going to be loud because it wants us to stay in our comfort zone where it's predictable and safe. Sure. But growth does not happen there. And a small life happens there. If you want a big life, you have to step outside. And I know it's scary, but if we support each other, right? And you talked about the communities, there's power in community and strength. And if that's something, you're wanting to do and you need help, I would love to be able to help you with that.
That is amazing. You're absolutely right. Yes. Community is huge. That's why community is a big deal around here too. You have to. So we are so close to being out of time, and time flies when you're having fun, but we are
really
almost there. We're almost, I know, so fast. We got like a minute, maybe two left. What's one last thing you want to leave the audience with today?
You matter. There's help out there. If you are struggling, please, please, please reach out. I know it's scary, but there's so many people out there that can help create that safe space for you to be able to kind of work through whatever it is you're dealing with. There is greatness that lies in every single one of us. If you want a bigger life, it's there, but you might just need support to kind of figure out how to take those steps. But the key is to reach out. We have to do it in community and support whatever that looks like. It doesn't have to be a lot of people, but you have to have people in your front row who believe you and support you and love you and encourage you and reach that hand out when you need it. So if you don't have that, that's really where we need to start. And then, collectively we can start to heal as families, as communities, as nations. And then we are needing healing more now than ever in the world that we're living in. And we need each other more than ever.
Yeah, that is 100% true, man. I don't know what I know. We don't need to talk about why, but I'll tell you what, over the last 10, 20 years, man, it's been like the wedge has been gotten bigger and bigger and bigger.
And divisiveness and all of that. Yeah. And we need to come back together.
100%. I totally agree. Well, hey, Trina, thank you so much for being here and being so real and just telling your story and getting all that information out there. Congratulations on your book. I mean, it's well done, man. And you're publishing another one soon, you said?
No, I did not say that. Everyone keeps asking. No, everyone keeps asking when the other one is, but no. Okay. I'm like, whoa, like it's like asking a woman who's holding her brand new baby in her arms when she's having another kid. Like that's
forget I said anything.
That's what it feels like right now. So maybe
nobody asked anything. No. It's all good. Well, that's what people were asking me about too. And I said, whoa, hold on there. Yeah. So sorry. Yeah, okay. We're not going there. But all right. Well, hey, thank you for being here and I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeff. You're doing great work, and it's about having conversations and normalizing things for people. So you do really great work too. So thank you so much for having me on your show.
My pleasure. Thank you. All right, man. I don't know why. I don't know where that came from in my head. She's coming out with it. No more books. No more books right now. That's I don't know where that came from. Hey. Oh man. All right, everybody. Hey, thank you for being here. If this is your first time watching, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you. And if you've been watching from the beginning, you've been watching for a while, you've been sharing episodes, you've been talking to people about us. Thank you. We couldn't do this without you either. And so, if you're watching on social media, like, follow, subscribe, share, all the things. Everybody knows what social media is and how to do it. Subscribe to that channel on YouTube so you get reminders, all the things. And join us for Invisible Condition University on December, what is it again? 3rd. December 3rd. There is the QR code right there for you again. So if you would like to join us for that, I would love to see you there. And join us on Friday, November 29th for our next show. And until then, have an amazing day, and we'll see you next time.